Hello, hello. Finally, I have got time to record a new video about BioWell. And this time I want to talk to you about new approach of interpretation of the BioWell scans. As we all know, BioWell is assessing energy, stress, and balance of the person. So we need to know what are the main factors that are influencing this stress, energy, and balance. And of course, we apply in the BioWell a paradigm in which we are not concentrating on the name of the illness or malfunction. We are concentrating on the path towards health. So this approach is based on 5 spheres that are the main ones and the most important ones in terms of our energetic state. These are our mindset and psychological state, psycho-emotional state, you may say, our movement activities, our nutrition, our sleeping regime or regime of the day, and our environmental conditions in which we live. So these are the main spheres that are affecting our energetic state. And this is exactly what we're measuring with the BioWell. The essence of this approach is to define in which of these 5 spheres specific person has more problems, and then either give recommendations ourselves or forward the person to a specialist, nutritionist, psychologist, or ecologist, etc. So this is the essence. We are not going to diagnose any illnesses. We're going to define the problematic sphere, one of those 5, the top priority. So I will be sharing cases from my database, from my experience, and for each of these spheres, I will show you a couple of cases and give you my interpretation. So hopefully you will be able to apply the same approach in your practice. Let's go. So first of all, I want to stress out that we are not going to talk about the temporary intraday stress. So if we look at these scans, as you see on this screen, this is temporary stress that if this person will sleep well, the next day it will not look like this. This is also temporary stress, of course, much bigger and higher stress, but still temporary ones. Because another day the person can look like this just because he has restored his energy through sleeping. So we will not be talking about this like intraday stress. We will be talking about something that is already established. So something that is already in our lifestyle, in our mindset. So let's go from the first topic, the mindset and psycho-emotional state. And here we have the first case. This person has been scanned 4 times in a row. We can send this to compare and then look at these scans. We can clearly see that the energy level is pretty fine, but the stress is high. You see, it's above 4 constantly. And this person was just calmly sitting in the office chair for 40 minutes, and we were repeating scans 4 times. So his stress level is constantly high. So we need to find out what is the reason. So if we go to the balance chart and we click through the 4 scans that we've made, we will find out that the column number 8 that you can see here is constantly highlighted, constantly imbalanced. And number 8 is adrenals. So it's it means that the adrenals are constantly imbalanced, and their function is handling the stress. So we can check also the chakras, and we can see that the chakras are pretty stable. Yep, but his adrenals are constantly stressed. So somehow for this person, the stress is constantly there. So there's something in his lifestyle that is constantly causing his stress. And even when he's not doing anything, he's relaxing and sitting in the armchair, his stress is high and the adrenals are imbalanced. So something maybe on subconscious level is triggering this person and not allowing to, relax inside. So this is one of the cases. And of course, we were able to find this out just because we have repeated the scans 4 times. Another case is directly connected with the psycho-emotional state, with the chakras, because these energy centers in our software are allowing us to see how stable is the person in time. And of course, in order to make interpretation of chakras, you need to make as many scans as possible to see the tendency. So if we send all these scans to compare, that were done within 2 days, and we go to the analysis tab, we will see that there's nothing really outstanding here beside the fact that there is almost constant left hand domination, and left hand is connected with the right hemisphere of the brain and excitation processes. So what's there? If we go to the chakras, we will see that first 2 scans were looking pretty good. They were in the green zone and the alignment was pretty high, 93 and 90. But as long as my approach is to scan as many times as possible, and usually the minimum number of scans that I make through the consultation is 4, 2 times before doing exercises, then 1 scan right after exercises, and then 10 minutes later. So overall 4 scans are minimum that I get. And if we go further, after exercise, it's already not so aligned. It's already 87, and several minutes later, it's already 79% alignment. And then if we go further, we'll see that unfortunately there is no reproducibility for the energy centers, for the chakras for this person. It's constantly jumping back and forth. So it means that this person, number 1 priority is to go to a psychologist and have a consultation there. Third case about mindset and psychological state is this one. So this person was scanned 3 times within 4 months, and each time the alignment was 97%. So it's the perfect alignment. Actually, it's the best one that you can attain on the biowall. Only once I have seen 98% alignment. So, but this person is constantly in this state. And this person is not a guru, is not a yogi master. He's just taking antidepressants that are switching off all the psycho-emotional expression. So that's why with the biowall, you cannot see anything. So the medication that person is taking is influencing all the spheres, not only on the organic level, but also on the psycho-emotional state and the balance here that you can see on the chakras tab. So whenever you are analyzing the mindset and psyche, that's the one of the main things to look at is chakras. And as many scans you can make, better will be your interpretation. Well, the basic interpretation of chakras is given in the software, in the manuals. You can read it there and apply it. We will not touch it here. So, second sphere that is important for us. Let's take, for example, nutrition. So, in this case, person was scanned again 4 times before exercises, after exercises, and it was repeated several times. If we send this to compare, on the analysis tab, nothing drastically interesting. And we will go to the energy diagram in this case, or area diagram. And we will see that there are specific areas that are different from the rest for this person. The sacrum area, rectum. We are looking here also at the blind gut, and here it's liver. And look, why do we pay attention to blind gut? You can say that it's all in the green zone, so it's okay, but it is much higher than the average of this person. So you see that the average is closer to this orange zone, the energy deficiency zone, as you can see on this scan too, whilst the blind gut is much further away. So it means this sphere is working differently from the rest. And that's why you can pay attention to it. And also, if you go to the scans and you go to the energy of organs, you can go to the digestive system and you can see that blind gut is outstanding here. So you see it's quite high for this person. And we can go to other, rectum here, rectum and blind gut. So for sure, this person has some issues with the digestive system. And yes, person has approved that she has constipation constantly. So, and it means that we need to give some recommendations to this person on nutrition. If we are not specialists in nutrition, it's okay. It means that you will just forward this person to a nutritionist. That's it. This is the essence of the biowell, to find out the problematic sphere and then concentrate the person on it. Second case in nutrition is this one. If we look at the parametric analysis in this case, we will not find anything interesting. Well, there are many sectors imbalanced, etc. So person is really not so balanced at all. Whilst the chakras are pretty well balanced, standing in the green zone in the middle, it's okay. But if we apply visual analysis, in this case, visual analysis helps. We will find the abnormal emissions in the lower back. We'll find abnormal emissions on the pancreas. And maybe a little bit here in the urine genital system. But of course, the main and the most abnormal and most life-threatening disorder is here in the pancreas. Because if pancreas stops working, you're dead. So, and in both cases, 2 scans were made for this person. It looks the same. So it means that in this case, visual analysis has helped us to find out the problem of this person, and we can further on concentrate attention of this person to nutrition in order to solve the issue with the pancreas. And well, the essence of the nutrition is to eat less, to eat the type of food that can be easily digestible. And the thing is that the organism will recover and clean itself. Yeah, within some amount of time. You just need to apply less stress on it, less load, eat more easy food for this specific person, and everything will get fixed itself just because you will change the lifestyle, the nutrition. The problem will get solved. But of course, with the help of nutritionists, it will be much easier, maybe some homeopathy, and it's up to the person what kind of approach to use in order to solve this. Biowell is helping us to define which sphere to concentrate on. Third case with the nutrition is this one. These are two scans that I've made one by one, before exercises and after exercises. And these are my personal scans. And I had some problem with the digestive system. I didn't feel good after each meal. And I wanted to find out what's the reason. So maybe there was some kind of poison, or I don't know what kind of malfunction was there. So I wanted to find out what's wrong. So I made two scans. And I looked at here at the general parameters, nothing special. But when I went to the balance chart, I found out that after the exercises, sector number 4 here, pancreas, spleen, were highlighted. All the rest disappeared. It was before, and it has even increased the imbalance. So I've decided that, okay, so it means if, this is the organ that is responsible for my illness, and I've just changed the diet for 1 week. So I found on the internet the specific diet for pancreas disorders. So, and I was eating only specific type of food and was drinking lots of water within 1 week, and everything got solved. I didn't visit any doctor. I didn't know what's the name of this disorder, but I was able to fix it just by finding out the root of this problem that was in nutrition. Another aspect of life that is drastically changing our energy and stress state is the movement, activity, and stretching. So we all know that our lifestyle nowadays, lots of sitting, right? We don't move enough usually. And here are the scans that were made. For example, in this case, the right forefinger was scanned several times in a row in one finger mode when a person was sitting and when person was standing. Let's compare them. So we can clearly see that when person was standing, the area of emission is generally higher. And if we go through the sectors, we'll find out that cervical zone is almost the same, thorax zone too, lumbar zone more or less the same, but the sacrum is not the same. There is difference between standing and sitting. So it's obvious when we're sitting, we're blocking the energy circulation. We're blocking the blood and lymph circulation there. So of course, these parameters shouldn't be the same in standing and sitting position. Yep. We can also look at the energy parameter if you want to, same story. What else is being affected by us constantly sitting? We have measured several times the ring finger in sitting and standing position. And let's compare this one. Well, we can go through these tabs. We can see that the pancreas, for example, are interchanging and almost the same, adrenals too, whilst the urinogental system is absolutely different. And again, in standing position, it's much higher. Because when we're sitting, unfortunately, we're not sitting straight, we're sitting bent. And of course, this sphere where the urogenital system organs are, we're blocking it and suppressing it. That's why the emission, the energy goes down. And when we stand up, it goes up. So this is just visualization of the lifestyle, of the movement activity on our energy state. And you can easily check it yourself. Second thing about the movement is our back, and you can easily find out that the back problems, the abnormal emissions in this area are very, very popular. Almost 95% of people whom you will scan will have abnormal emission in the lower back. So as you can see in this case, it's constantly like this. This is our sitting regime. This is our movement activities. So if we do not move enough, if we do not stretch, the issues with the back will be there. First of all, with the back, and they're most obvious because the biggest load and biggest stress is on the lower back area. But of course, other parts of our body are also being, I'd say, affected by our movement activities. So if you want for the energy exchange, for the metabolic activities be normal, faster than they are when you're sitting, you need to do exercises, you need to do stretching. And the connective tissue is very, very important part in this. So if you want to be healthy, you have to take into consideration the physical activities too. The next topic that we will talk about, next sphere of life, is the sleeping regime. Let's look at some cases in this sphere. Here is the first case. Well, if you look at the visual content here, you'll find it out pretty good, right? It's, well, looks very nice. Well, not so much of abnormal emission here. Pretty good energetic state for the person, and the balance and the energy level. And from point of view of visual analysis, pretty good. But let's take a look at all four scans that were made for this person. And if we cannot say anything specific, yeah, this person is in the anxiety. So something is slightly stressing this person constantly. You see that all four scans are in this range. Whilst the rest of the parameters are pretty good. If we go to the balance charts, we will find out that there are specific zones that are the lowest for this person. Let's take a look. What are these spheres in this case? Column number 18 and number 30. Same here, 18 and 30. 18 is the cerebral zone vessels, 30 is cerebral zone cortex. So it means that most probably when you see these sectors connected with the cerebral zone vessels and cortex, most probably this person is not sleeping well or is not going to bed early enough. So most probably, if you ask such a person when he or she is going to bed, the answer will be after midnight. And this is the case. And you can clearly see that the energy of the cerebral zone is diminished. Even though that overall, we can see that this person looks very good. So it means in this case, we will give the recommendations to this person based on his regime of the day, the sleeping regime. And that will be the most important sphere on which he should concentrate. Next case, there are 3 scans here. Again, we can send to compare. We can see that the state here is more or less the same. Again, we can see some level of anxiety. On the chakras level, again, we can see also some imbalances here that we can talk about. And this is the mindset and psycho-emotional state here. But also we will go to the balance and try to look at the sectors that are the most problematic in terms of energy. Well, we'll see that there are many of them here, but again, we see the cerebral zone vessels, the lowest one for this person. If we go to the organs energy and we check the head area, we see that the eyes and cerebral zone are an energy deficiency. And here we see the cerebral zone vessels also diminished, and also epiphysis is too low. So epiphysis is the organ that is responsible for our melatonin serotonin cycle, the sleeping regime, switching of the night regime to a day regime, right? So, and if we see that the cerebral zone, eyes, parts of the brain, and epiphysis are down, so first of all, we should concentrate with this person on sleeping regime. That may be because of lack of sleep or just sleeping disorders, this person is not able to restore and to feel relaxed. As you can see, this person is constantly in stress or anxiety. Third case. Again, if we look at this case, we already know on which spheres to look at. Again, we can look at the head area, the eyes and the cerebral zone. We can look at the cerebral zone vessels. Well, the influence of the lack of sleep in this case is here. And that's, again, one of the topics that we can talk about with the person. Well, I'm not telling you that when you will make interpretation of a specific case, you will find only one problem in one of these 5 spheres. Most probably you will find problems in several spheres. But I would recommend to concentrate only on one sphere and make some changes, change the habits in one sphere at a time, and then if they will get fixed, then go forward to the next sphere. And now 5th sphere. is the environment? Well, of course, the environmental conditions in which we live are also highly important for our energy state. And I will tell you that one of these problems are easily to be found. These are respiratory system issues. In many cases, you'll find out that 95% and more of cases, you'll find that there are excessive or abnormal emissions in the respiratory system area. And unfortunately, as long as we are spending a lot of time indoors and the quality of air is not as good as the fresh air in the mountains, of course, our respiratory system was not made for these kind of environmental conditions. And just because of lack of different chemicals in the air, it's not so fresh, our respiratory system has to hyperfunction. So that's the influence of our environment, and you will easily see it in many cases. Another point at which you can look at in terms of environmental influence is this one. So I will show you the scans that were made 2 different years, 2017, 2018. And in this case, please look at the inner noise of the fingers. So these are the 2 scans, I would say background condition. This is normal condition for this person. These are my scans. And the top 4 scans were made when I was living on the top 11th floor of the building, just right under the roof, where the different antennas, transmitters were standing, lots of wires there. So it's a lot of electromagnetic field pollution there. And look at this. So you can already see that the amount of noise in the fingers has increased. You see in this scan, the small fingers on the right and left side are fully covered with noise. The right ring finger is also absolutely filled up with noise, and also the right middle. Here, mostly the little fingers, and you can see the left thumb too. In this case, left thumb, right ring, and little fingers. And you can, of course, look at the parameters here. So the inner noise percentage, for example, it's 93% here, whilst, for example, in this scan, it's 0.34, right? So very big difference. I think that's here it's 97%. See, it's completely covered. So this is exactly what we are talking about on our seminars when we were explaining about different types of images that you can find out. This is the noise, biological noise that you have in your system. And in this case, it is caused by the environmental conditions, by all those EMF pollution that I had in that apartment. So this is it. We have passed through all the 5 spheres. And once again, what we have made now, we have gone through like almost 15 cases. And in each case, we were able to find the top priority for the person on which to concentrate and change the lifestyle in order to be healthier and increase the wellness. Yeah, to increase the energy state, decrease the stress, and be more balanced. And we don't need to know the name of the illness. We need just to know this one of these 5 spheres and recommend something, what to do on the way towards health and wellness. So that's the essence of this approach. And I think that if you are not a medical doctor, or even if you're not a psychologist, you can still use BioWell in order to help other people to find their way and path towards health and general wellness. Just use this approach, find the main problematic sphere of this person in the lifestyle, and give some recommendations what to do or forward to a specific specialist. That's it. Easy and very useful. And if we take into consideration that BioWell is non-invasive, very fast, and visual, it means that the client will see the same things that you are talking about without any special education. Specifically, when we are talking about those visual analysis, the client will understand you and hopefully will change something in the life and the mindset that will lead to a better and happier life. Thanks for watching this video, and don't forget to click like and subscribe to my channel, and see you soon. Thank you for watching.